I'm at it again. What do you think my 3D print mill is manufacturing this time? I'll give you a hint. Each one of these will go together to make something really fun. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, October the 4th, 2021, vlog number 235, and it's the 572nd day of COVID. So, moving right along here, what have I been making? Well, Thanksgiving is coming up here in Canada, and that's this weekend coming. So, my sister has invited us, Walter and I, over for dinner. For Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday. And while I'm talking about this, for those of you that tune into Stephen and Walter live, something I forgot to say yesterday on the live is that next week, which would be Sunday the 10th of October 2021, we will be on 1 hour earlier just for that Sunday. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're going over to my sister's for dinner and we have to be over there for about 5 o'clock. So we just moved up 1 hour to 3 o'clock from 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But that's just for next week. The week after that, it'll all be back to normal. So that's October the 10th. Okay, that was my little aside there. So back to what I was saying about my sister and Thanksgiving dinner. They've all been double vaxxed in her household. It's her husband, and my nephew and my niece. And we're double vaxxed and everything. So everything is fine with that. So I'm looking forward to it because we haven't been over to my sister's for quite a while for dinner, for family dinner. So that'll be nice. And so I thought I'd take her a little gift. And what I did was I made these. Now, what are these? These are tea towels. Now, first of all, I want to show you the ribbon. I have a brother P-Touch, a label maker that does ribbons as well. And I don't use the ribbon feature very often, but I thought this was an opportunity to do so. And it says Happy Thanksgiving on the ribbon. See, I'll show you. Excuse me, frog in my throat. So you can see it prints that all out. It's really kind of cool. I haven't heard much about those, though. That came out a few years ago, and it was all the rage, and I haven't heard anything more about it. So I don't know if it didn't catch on or whatever. Probably didn't catch on, and I'll probably have trouble getting ribbons. I have a supply of them, but, you know. So, this is what I made. I had tea towel material that I bought some time ago, and it's been sitting in my stash, and I thought, you know, I would make some new tea towels for us. I probably should. Ours are getting really ratty. But I thought it'd be nice to embroider a little something on them. So on this one, put it up here so you can see it. This one says thanks, so for Thanksgiving. And this one has a little scarecrow on it. I thought it'd be nice for fall, that kind of thing. You see my camera's not kind of focusing on this well. But anyways, just a little, you know, sort of a hostess gift, that kind of thing. So I did that. And what else have I been working on? Well, I got my Halloween decorations all up. Now, you've heard me say this before, so it's like a broken record, but several years ago, I never, ever decorated for Halloween. The closest I came to decorating for Halloween was putting a plastic pumpkin out on the doorstep on Halloween night with lights in it. And I did have a little rotating light that was like a little disco light kind of a thing that Walter had bought for me as a joke years ago. Still have it. Get it out every now and then. It's fun. Relive the 70s or the 80s, whatever. And I put that there, and it puts a little light on it. Now, there was one year when we actually did some projections. We had a couple of you know, projectors you can plug into computers and stuff like that, and we projected them on the blinds on the inside of the house, and they were spooky on the outside, and I had some sound effects, and that's as far as I got with being very elaborate. But inside the house, nothing. So about last year, 2 years ago, I had made a couple of Halloween banners, so I hung those on the door, you know, a couple of weeks before Halloween kind of a deal. And then I started getting into machine embroidery and I started making some things. So now I have quite a few Halloween decorations. And I like them so much that I decided October the 1st, I was putting these up for a month. They're here the whole month of October. And they're just kind of fun, and I thought I'd share them with you. So here I've taken a little video of what it looks like with my decorations. So I thought I'd show you my Halloween decorations for this year. This is my coffee table in my family room, and you can see I have my embroidered houses that I made last year, and then I've added some lights to those. Over in the far corner is a Halloween pumpkin I embroidered last year, and then some 3D objects that I printed this year, and I've scattered some little fake leaves under those. Now this was my latest project this year, which were these Halloween lanterns, which you can see have a ghostly glow to them with the lights. All the lights are battery operated and have a remote, and this is the centerpiece for the table, another one of those lanterns, and some more 3D printed items, some skulls and a big white ghost, plus the table runner is one that I embroidered about a year or so ago as well. Now we go all the way around the room and we go back to this center display, and that's the back of it. But here on this table, another one of those embroidered Halloween lanterns, and a 3D printed Frankenstein head and an embroidered cauldron, and I filled them with candy kisses. More for the display than to be eaten, but then again, we'll probably eat them as well. Outside of the house, I put up two banners I made a year ago. They're a combination of quilting and embroidery, and all the little figures that are around it are also all in the hoop applique, or in the case of the skeleton, a freestanding lace creation done in the embroidery machine as well. So I'm all ready for Halloween, as you can see, with my banners up on the doors and my decorations inside the house. So I thought you might want to take a look at them. So I think they're kind of fun. Those little items had holes in the bottom so you could stick in little LED lights, and those little LED lights that I have in them are battery operated, of course, and there's a little remote control for them. The only thing about them I find, for such little things, they really sap the energy out of the batteries. They take those disc batteries, and each one takes two. So I need to go to the dollar store and stock up, because if I put those on for very long, they will burn out, and they're a bit of a pain in the butt to replace the batteries in them. So needless to say, I don't put the little lights on every night. But anyways, yeah, woes here. So what else have I been working on? Well, of course, you know that I got a long arm machine, and I have been having fun. Walter and I have been having fun playing with it, learning it. And I did my first quilt on it. I made a Halloween quilt. I'd had the pattern for a while. I'd had the fabric all ready to go. So I decided, okay, let's get this sucker together. And it was a very simple pattern. It was based upon a panel. And so that means 3/4 of the quilt is made up of panels. So that's easy. And I needed to quilt it. So I put it on the long arm and I quilted it. Now, I have to admit, I did not do free motion quilting. I used a pantograph, which is a scroll of paper that fits on the back of the long arm. And you basically have a laser light hooked up at the back, and there's handles for moving the machine around. And you just follow the pattern with the laser light, and the needle does its thing at the front, and you get this really nice, even pattern that you could claim you did it free motion. No one would believe that I did it free motion, but it's another thing you can do with the long arm. So I thought I'd show you what that quilt looks like and show you that quilting. And there it is. And I think it turned out pretty good. It's about 55 inches by about, I think, about 75 or 80 inches. Not absolutely sure on that. You can see I had the panel, but then I added my own fabrics to it, and I kind of like my fabrics a little better. It's definitely very Halloween-y, but here's what I wanted to show you is my quilting. Get in here close. So the way I did this particular quilting was I used my brand new Lucey, my long arm machine, and I used, I'm not sure what this pattern's called, but it's a pantograph. pantograph, if you're not familiar with them, is just a really long scroll of paper with the design drawn out on it. And you use the laser light at the back of your long arm machine. And there's handles at the back as well as on the front of the machine. And you just essentially trace what's on that pattern. And you get very good looking quilting. This isn't absolutely perfect, but then again, it's pretty darn close. Better than what I could have done if I tried to do this by free motion. But the one thing is I used a relatively light color. It looks sort of like white or gray on this picture, but it's actually a light goldy yellow color. And I used a tan color on the back, which it really doesn't show up on the back of the fabric. And I don't have a picture of the back of this, but I just used some basic orange fabric. I did have to piece the back for this. And I also, because I didn't have a darker colored bobbins at this point in time, I will have soon, I decided to go with the lighter tan, just in case I blew it, made a few mistakes, no one would notice it. But I didn't blow it. That's the beauty of the long arm and using a pantograph. It comes out very nice. So I'm very pleased with the way my Halloween quilt turned out. So yeah, I have a Christmas quilt that I've been making for somebody and it's ready to be quilted. So I think later today I'm going to get it all hooked up to the machine, and I have to decide whether I'm going to do absolutely free motion quilting on it or use another pantograph. I'll have to see. Okay, so that takes me to the YouTube channel of the week. This one's a little different. It's called Facts Verse, and it's informative, but you got to take what they say with a grain of salt. It's more like a little gossip page. So if you're into celebrities or you're into old TV shows and you want to know what happened to the cast of them, or scandal around certain high-profile individuals in society, things like that, you might want to check this out. If there's nothing else to do and nothing else to watch and you just want something that is mindless, then this might be the site for you. This week's YouTube channel is called Facts Verse, and this is something that's probably more entertainment than factual because it deals with a lot of things about celebrities and television programs and musical groups and things like that. For example, you can see here Grease actors who died without you knowing. Here's what happened to the Hee Haw cast, in the Dark Shadows cast still alive, etc. All kinds of things like that. Now, the reason I came upon it is because they had a series on ABBA, and I'm an absolute ABBA fan, and if you know it or not, ABBA is coming out with a new album in November. They're also doing an actual virtual show, which involves them being avatars. So you'll see them the way they looked many years ago, not the way they look today. I mean, after all, ABBA are getting up there in years, aren't they? They're in their 70s, I think. So they might even be pushing towards 80. But that's how I discovered this particular YouTube channel. Now, as I said, do not take any of the information that's on here as absolute fact. I think it's created more or less as entertainment. But it is kind of interesting. And so if you're looking for a little amusing time waster because you don't really want to think about anything too deeply, or you need something that's just playing in the background, then you might be interested in checking out Facts Verse. So the link for Fact Verse is in the show notes, and there's a link for Stephen and Walter live. And again, remember, next week we're on at 3 instead of 4 o'clock. And there is a link for this week's Craft and Chat session. First Wednesday of the month is this coming Wednesday, October the 6th. So at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be live on Zoom to work on projects, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It can be everything under the sun. If you're a paper crafter, you're welcome. If you're a knitter, you're welcome. Quilters, sewers, crocheters, macrame masters, whatever. You know, it just gives you a few hours to yourself to work on something you want to work on. So I hope you can join us. As I said, it starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can come and go as you please. And the link for Craft and Chat is in the show notes below. And there's also a link to a special video that I did, a special episode of the Idiot Quilter. During my process of getting my new sewing room up and ready as we waited for the long arm to arrive, and I gutted it, of course, as you know. And so I have a video. Excuse me for that. Choking up here. It's probably because it's kind of early in the morning when I'm doing this. It's like 7 o'clock. Anyways, so I have a special video showing you the transformation of my craft room into my sewing room and all the stuff I got rid of and all of that. So anyways, it's up there. You can check that out. There is also a link to the past week's Idiot Quilter, where I talk a little bit more in detail about playing with Lucey, with Juicy Lucy. That's what we call her, Juicy Lucy. And there's a So Chatty episode, which is a little bit more detailed video about the features of the Lucey. So if you've ever been thinking about getting a long arm, we discuss our experience with its delivery. 7 large heavy boxes that were almost all of them damaged, and the process of putting it together and our initial working with it as well. In the future on So Chatty, there will be more videos about different features and how we use them. In fact, I was already mentioning the Christmas quilt I'm going to quilt later, start today. I'm going to record some of that as well, once I figure out whether I'm doing it as free motion or as a pantograph. So let's see what else. So that's it for the links. So let me have some coffee because my throat's still clogging up here. And I think I need to do something that's going to be very loud noises, so I'm just going to stop for a second. Sorry about that. I hope that's a little better. Okay. Must be an old age thing. I don't know. Anyways, so what's pissing me off this week? Well, I got a little comment written on one of my videos by somebody. I'm not going to mention this person's name because I don't know this person. In fact, when I read this comment, I almost deleted it because I do have a policy where if I get negative comments that don't contribute to what I'm talking about, I mean, if they're not constructively critical, then they're a waste of time. There's somebody just being a troll. I delete them. My prerogative, my channel. But this one, I thought about it and I thought, no, this is an opportunity to explain something. So I'll tell you what it is. I'll read it to you first. This person wrote, this person wrote this, and their grammar is not very good. And of course, I would pick up on that since I was an English teacher. So I'm going to read it exactly as they wrote it. Also, I can't help but think that the way this is written is a direct reflection on what this person is like. So this is what they wrote. I had mentioned in one of my videos about, I think I was talking about my mother's nursing home and how somebody had taken a resident out for a little day trip or something and brought them back and they tested positive for COVID. And how, I wasn't sure, that this was something that the caregivers there should be much more aware of. And not only that, but at the same time, the nursing home had come out with this policy that finally all the people in the nursing home had to be double vaxxed or they were going to be put on unpaid leave. And I said I agreed with that. I felt that anybody in the caregiving hospital medical world it's a no-brainer, should be double vaxxed because they're dealing with people with disease all the time. So this person supposedly is a caregiver, a professional caregiver, and she was not happy with my comment. So I'm going to read it to you. I disagree. I am not going to get a vaccine. Do not tell me to get a different job. I'm a great caregiver. You definitely would be witching if I were to go on welfare. I have worked throughout the whole pandemic. A lot of people would not and collected the extra money on unemployment. I am trying to work, which a lot of people will not. Sorry, but this is a very sad situation. Okay, couple of issues here. All right. First of all, she says she's not going to get the vaccine, but she's a great caregiver. I don't think those two work together. Then she's telling me that, basically, I think she's implying that if people lose their job because they're not double vaxxed, then we're going to have a shortage of these type of people, and we're going to be very sorry about it, and that they're a drain on unemployment insurance and the welfare system, and there are people out there who just don't bother to work at all or don't care, use COVID as an excuse to collect unemployment. I don't disagree with that. I think there was a few people who may have done that kind of thing. But my issue with this person is the fact that she is a caregiver, she's coming into contact with sick people, and she won't get a vaccine. So she's putting herself into jeopardy, and even more so, she's putting in the people that are in her care, under her great care, as she said, into jeopardy. So this is what I wrote back. I am sorry, but if you do not agree with getting a vaccine, then you are not a great caregiver. In fact, you are responsible for the spread of this disease. I have much respect for the frontline workers, but I do not have respect for people who are just ignorant and do not believe in the science, which is based on many years of research. In my opinion, you are not the kind of person that is helping because of your beliefs. Your beliefs are just wrong, and you are killing people with that attitude. I'm calling people out like yourself. People like you who are against vaccines are making the COVID situation worse. Yes, and I stand behind that comment as well. So, if you don't agree with me, that is fine. Just remember what I said about comments. Make them constructive. Otherwise, yep, delete. Bye-bye. But this got me thinking about other issues here. Okay? So, first of all, I thought it was a no-brainer that anybody working with people who have COVID, i.e. hospital staff, ICU staff, personal care workers, registered nurses, people that work in nursing homes, doctors, all of that, I thought it was a no-brainer that they would just instantly go out and get double vaxxed. Apparently not. And it's not just this person who wrote this comment. We are hearing reports of that in the news. It has finally come to a head, and our provincial government that have done too little too late throughout this whole pandemic, but then which governments in the world have not? They finally have declared that by November the 15th, all nursing home staff must be double vaxxed, or they will be put on unpaid leave. Well, great, that's wonderful. But again, that should have been put in place months ago. In the case of my mother's nursing home, about 80% of them or 85% of them have been double vaxxed. But nevertheless, on my mother's floor right now, there are 2 cases of COVID. There's also a case of scabies, but I'll talk about that later. So there you go. Now, I am double vaxxed. Didn't think twice about it. Yes, of course I want to protect myself. It's the same reason why I get a flu shot every year, and I know there are people up against that as well. I think those people are idiots. I'm sorry, I think they're idiots. Okay? I think they're idiots because, as I said in my reply to this comment, you are putting yourself in harm's way and you're putting other people around you in harm's way. But what I'm really getting at here, and what's really pissing me off, is how frontline workers, we put them on a pedestal. We have since COVID began. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Absolutely not. They put their lives on the line every day for other people. They do that as their profession, their chosen profession, even before COVID hit. Look at firefighters. Look at policemen. Look at nurses that work in high infection areas and doctors as well in hospitals. Every day they put themselves at risk. And they do it for other people. So why wouldn't they get the vaccine? wouldn't it be second nature in a job like that? Someone mentioned on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday that doctors and nurses take an oath, and basically the oath says we are here to serve and we will protect life. By not getting the vaccine, they are not protecting life. They have broken their oath. And yes, I think they should be removed from the system one way or another. So when you get a comment like this, that is just pure, unadulterated ignorance. And I'm using the word ignorance here to mean lack of knowledge. Because I would assume this person has an education. And even if they don't have a higher order education, that doesn't necessarily make you brilliant. We have been told over and over and over until it's been said to us so many times we almost ignore it now to a certain extent. It's ingrained in us. We know how this disease is transmitted. We know how to best protect ourselves against the disease. And yet there's individuals like this one that wrote the comment who refuse to believe the science. Duh. So, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And it's frustrating. Our numbers are back on the rise here where I live in Ontario. We're in the middle of, or I don't know if it's the middle or the end, who knows? It's the fourth wave. My God. Are we going to have a fifth wave? Well, we are. If people don't smarten up and get vaccinated. Do we enjoy what life is bringing us right now? No, we don't. So you get people like this in the healthcare system, they're just spreading the disease. So I say, let's get the blinders off here. Let's get them off the pedestal. Okay? There's other people in the community, and this is now I'm branching off of this a little bit because I got thinking about this. There are other people in our society, in our communities, that are also heroes that should be put on the pedestal as well. One group, which is dear to my heart, are teachers. Yes, teachers don't fight fires. They don't fight crime. Well, depends on the class you have that year, maybe. But yet, teachers are in there with all these kids, especially elementary school teachers that teach kids under the age of 12, who are walking disease bags, who have not had the shot yet because they can't get it because they're still out there doing tests to make sure their little fingers won't all drop off if they get the shot. But the teachers are in a classroom, a closed room. Oh, yes, they have HEPA filters now, at least in the schools in Ontario. Yeah, that's a lot of good. Not. Okay. I mean, air comes out with the disease from a person's mouth. It floats around the room and eventually gets sucked in by the HEPA filter to remove it. A little late, isn't it? If you're in that same environment. So, that's just smoke and mirrors. They do nothing. I haven't seen one report yet that says that a HEPA filter is a great way of preventing COVID. But anyways, I digress, as I usually do. So teachers are a frontline worker. They're there. They're caring for the kids. And they're double vaxxed. Well, are they all? No. No, they're not. But the school boards, again, governing bodies, little slow to respond, are starting now to say that teachers have to be double vaxxed or they will be put on homeschooling. They can teach from their computer. Really? Tell them they're going to be fired. Really, there is a precedent for firing teachers, even if they're in a union. I know from personal experience, it has nothing to do with COVID. But because I'm a gay man, when I started teaching in the 80s, if they had found out I was gay, it was grounds for being dismissed, for being fired from the profession and not getting another teaching job ever. And there was nothing that could protect me. But that's a story for another day. So, what I'm saying is there is precedent for getting rid of somebody in a profession, even if they're protected by a union. Now, there are many of these people who are anti-vaxxers in the broader community, not necessarily frontline workers, but they think they have a human rights case. In Ontario, we have a human rights code, which protects us against discrimination and things like that. Well, some lawyers who specialize in human rights cases uh, have looked into this, and they have declared that nope, if an employer fires you because you're not double vaxxed, the employer has that right. You do not have a case. So there you go. So they can't fall back on that their personal rights and liberties are being infringed upon because they're being told they need to get a vaccine, because there is nothing in the law that says they are protected if they don't. So there. So follow the law. So they're breaking the law. They're basically breaking the law by not doing that. But back to the frontline workers. So teachers are frontline workers. Okay? But you don't hear a whole lot of praise for what they're doing. But you certainly hear about it when the schools are closed and everybody's gone to electronic learning. And all these parents now scrambling for how they're going to look after their children because they have to work. Okay? So the frontline workers, that's when teachers become important. Well, they're important for the wrong reasons. They're important because they're seen as babysitters. But there's other ones out there. Let's talk about the people that work in grocery stores. They are a frontline worker as well. Now, this is something very interesting. I have not heard anything from the government declaring that people who work in a grocery store need to be double vaxxed. Sure, they've got marks on the floor so you know you're 6 feet away from the other person standing in the checkout line, and there's plexiglass between you and the cashier. But yeah, really? That's kind of the same as a HEPA filter, isn't it? When you come right down to it. So why are they not told that they need to be double vaxxed? Again, that's because it's the store owner's responsibility, thanks to our government, saying that yes or no, you need to be double vaxxed or you lose your job. They put the pressure on the store owner, not on everybody in society, as they should. Same thing is going on with the restaurant people, the waitresses and the waiters and the whole bit. That decision, whether or not they keep their job, has been left up to the owner of the restaurant. The government needs to declare all people, regardless of their situation, need to be double vaxxed. They're starting to come around to that, but it's, like I said, too little too late. In fact, our federal government needs to stand up to this. Come on, show some leadership, Trudeau. I love Justin Trudeau, but right now I'm not loving him a lot. But the alternative to Justin Trudeau is a lot worse. He needs to declare that everyone in this country needs to be double vaxxed. Not leave it up to the provinces. Yes, the provinces look after the healthcare system, but this is affecting the whole country. It's affecting the country as a whole. Therefore, that's a federal matter. Get off the pot, get some guts, say stick it in the face of the anti-vaxxers, and make everybody do it. And then we'll be out of this thing. We will be done. We can go back to life again, like it was. So back to this comment that started all of this. I think this individual, this is a sad individual. They lack the intelligence and the moral integrity to be a positive contributor to our society with their attitude and beliefs about not getting vaccinated. Bring on your comments. Just remember, make them constructive. Okay, so endeth my sermon for the day. And let's move on, shall we, to nicer things. So, what are some of those nicer things? Well, bent noses. Well, I don't mean bent noses. I mean bent nose tweezers. Yes, the only new thing I bought this week. Actually, these aren't the actual ones I bought, but I bought a duplicate pair. These are dandy. These are really the best thing you could ever own if you're a crafter or a sewer. They kind of work in reverse. Usually you push in your tweezers and that closes them. These ones you push them in and it releases them. And they have a spring in them. So they come right back and grab whatever. Why do I love bent nose tweezers? Or why did I buy another pair? When you're threading the long arm, you need these to get in there and grab the end of the thread that goes through the needles so you can pull it, because there's not a lot of space to get your fingers in there. And I have man hands, but I have big fingers. Well, my fingers aren't that big in comparison to what they could be, but I have trouble getting in there, so these really help. I have had this pair for years. I use them in all my crafting as well. One of the best tools I ever bought. So yes, and you know, you can pick them up cheap. I think it was $13 Canadian on Amazon. They're just great. I recommend them that every house have at least one pair. Yeah. So that's everything new I bought this week. I am thinking about purchasing a big allotment of filament for my 3D printers because I'm actually starting to run low on certain colors. And that takes me then to what I've been making. So I was talking about my Halloween decorations. Well, some of my decorations are 3D printed. And I found this one for a Frankenstein mug. And I did show it in that little video, but I've got another little video clip to show it to you up close and personal this time, because I just thought it was great. It was fun. So I've been having fun making creations for Halloween decorations, and I came across this model, the little one right here, of Frankenstein, and they said that this was a little mug, and he has a little cap on the top, and I guess at this size you could put something in there or whatever. I would not drink out of these because they're made with PLA, and PLA is not food grade safe. But I thought this would look really great if I got rid of his cap, just left his head like that, and blew him up a little bit bigger. So I blew him up to 300%, and here he is. And he looks really interesting. There's the handle on the back and the bolts in his neck. And I filled him with Halloween candy kisses as well. And this is going to sit out on one of my tables in my family room as a Halloween decoration. Now, I said this wasn't food grade safe, but what I've put in here is candy that's already wrapped, so that'll be fine. Also, this is kind of the traditional Halloween candy kisses, which, you know, are very sweet, and I'm just using them more or less as decoration in this. But I think it turned out really quite cute. And something else that I made, this one took quite a while to make, and you're going to wonder why, and here it is, and guess what it is? Can you guess what this big thing is? Can't even get it in the shot. I had people on Stephen and Walter Live try to guess the other day. Someone thought it was a bubble machine, which would have been cool. I forget what else people thought it was. Well, this is what they call a dice tower. If you're somebody that plays those games with wizards and witches in it, like Dungeons and Dragons and that, then you probably know all about these kind of things, because there's quite a variety of these out there. Now, I made some dice too. These are Dungeon and Dragon dice, I guess. At least they were listed as such, and they have odd sides to them. And I guess what you do is, there's a hole back here. You drop it in, and it spits it out, and it's rolled the dice around. And apparently, this makes whatever comes out much more random, I guess, than doing it with your hands. But from what I understand from something like Dungeons and Dragons, it's a fantasy game, it's a role-playing game, and this kind of thing, and you can see it in its design, goes with that theme. Well, the reason I printed it, first of all, was because I thought it was cool. This was from a company that gave this model out free for you to print as a promotion for a Kickstarter campaign they have for what they're hoping is going to be their eventual website. This was really well designed. We printed it in 4 pieces. You have this bottom gray part, you had this green part at the top, and this part also was printed separately. It's called the observatory. And then you have this main central part that I did in blue. And this part, the central part, took 3 entire days to print. 24 hours in a day. Yeah, it was going like crazy. not one mistake in it, not one problem with printing it out. I was so impressed. The same with the other pieces. In total, this whole thing took about 5 days to print. And never, not one problem. So I'm really impressed by this group that's putting this thing together. Am I so impressed that I'll give them money for the Kickstarter? No, because I'm cheap. But I will definitely check them out when they go live. I think I'm on their mailing list now because I downloaded that model and check them out. And for the life of me, I can't remember what they were called. So sorry for any of you that do 3D printing and are really interested in that. I think you can probably find it, though, if you put in the words Dice Tower and Kickstarter. It'll probably come up in Google. So what am I going to do with it, you may ask? I do not play Dungeons and Dragons. Never have, probably never will. I'm not into those kind of role play kind of things. Anyways, but my niece is. My niece is a bit of a nerd, okay? She's a really smart girl. A girl, I should call her a lady now because she's not a kid anymore. She is an adult. She's in her mid-20s. Now, hard to believe, makes me feel old. But I know that she is into Dungeons and Dragons. I think she has a group of friends that she gets together with to play on a regular basis. I think she might even be a dungeon master. I'm not sure what that is. All I can think of is a dominatrix, and I'm sure that's not what she is. I'm sure that's something totally different from Dungeon Master. But anyways, when we go over to my sister's for Thanksgiving dinner next Sunday, I'm going to present her with this. I don't know if she will like it. I don't know if this is something that she will think is cool or not. But what the heck? What else am I going to do with it? Sit it on a shelf somewhere. So we'll see. Or maybe she's got a friend that would be thrilled to have something like that. I don't know. But then I got thinking when I was making that, what about my nephew? I mean, there I am going over and giving his parents, their parents, the tea towels and that. And I give his sister this tower and nothing for my nephew. And it was just my nephew's birthday on the weekend as well. And he's in his early 20s now too. So he's an adult. So what do I get him? As, comparable to that. Well, he is into into Maple Leafs, Toronto Maple Leafs, okay? Our hometown team, so to speak. And in fact, he and his mother are so much into it that they have this little thing they got. I don't know where they got it. It was created by a beer company or something. Basically, it's a goal light. And I guess it works through your Wi-Fi or something. And so every time when I guess the Maple Leafs are playing a home game, they get a goal, this thing goes off. It makes this loud noise, kind of like what I guess in hockey games they do. I say I guess. I don't follow hockey. So sorry. I know what hockey is. I'm a Canadian, okay? But I don't watch it. Just, I find it boring. Okay, shoot me. It goes off and a light comes up and the whole bit. It's a novelty thing. So I thought I would make him a novelty thing. So this is what I started with. Of course, everybody knows the Stanley Cup, right? There's the Stanley Cup. Small version of it. That printed out pretty good. And I decided to also print out the Toronto Maple Leafs logo. And I glued it to the front of the Stanley Cup. But size-wise, yeah, size matters here. So I reprinted both pieces to make them a little bigger. So I've got a bigger Maple Leaf and a bigger Stanley Cup. But I got my proportions wrong because my idea was I'm sticking this on that while the Maple Leaf hides the Stanley Cup. So I need a bigger Stanley Cup. So as we speak, over on my 3D printer out of shot, I am making a larger Stanley Cup, a really big one, comparable to the size of that dice tower, and I'll put these together. Well, I was showing this on Stephen Walter Live yesterday, and someone mentioned to me, see, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won the Stanley Cup since 1967, over 50 years ago. Okay? It's kind of it's a bit of a sad joke now, because the loyal fans to the Maple Leafs, this will be the year, and it's never the year. But I'll have to give them credit for this. They do live in hope. So she suggested, why don't you just give them all like 3 versions of it and, kind of like, okay, big one, that's the year they won, and progress back to the smallest one. In other words, symbolically representing their chances of ever winning the Stanley Cup again. It's kind of nasty in a way, but it is funny. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I have this idea in my head that what I'll do is I'll have these 3 Stanley Cups. The big one will be first in the row. And underneath it, I'm going to make a little plaque that says 1967. And then the medium-sized one will come up, go and say something like, this is the year. And then the little tiny one at the end that says, fat chance, or something like that, okay? It's kind of cruel, I know, for Maple Leaf fans, but my nephew has a real wicked sense of humor, so I'm sure he will get it. We'll see. I don't know. Both of these items, they may just, oh, thank you, Uncle Stephen. They're great. And as soon as I leave my sister's house, these things will find a dark, dusty corner to live in, or if they don't hit the garbage. I don't know. Anyways, you know how I like to make things on the 3D printer, so call me crazy. Okay, so that takes us to a blast from the past. This is part 2 of the Australian Zoo when we visited in March of 2019, pre-COVID days. And yeah, I think this one features kangaroos.
I'm going to see kangaroos. They're so fluffy.
You got a baby in it?
You might have. Yeah, I think it does. Maybe. I don't know. You can tell. Hey, baby. Oh, yeah. Can't get that thing to go out.
What's he doing?
Mom, there's a baby on my lap. See, there's an adult one at the top. There's a baby one. He's looking around.
Not allowed to do that. You're going to eat some leaves. See? Look at that. He's eating leaves.
That's cool to see the fact currently it's the most deadly in the world. Never heard of it.
It's a feast.
Yeah, it's called a field snake. It's not a species that rarely encounters.
long stay. Short tempered. If you must Look at old maiden and holding them up. Black tigers. Tasmanian. It's a big stick.
Oh yeah, he might want some of Lucey's biscuit. Do you think? Is it endangered? No.
What is it? Wombat. Oh, Mom. Mom.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go that way, it's just more stuff to see on the way back. You might get caught up.
We're being the bird.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Number 2.
Yeah. Pretty cute, eh? Yeah. They're hungry.
So that takes us to events in the past week. Let's talk about my mother. Okay, I think I mentioned last week that they were going to try her in a reclining wheelchair. They thought that would make her more comfortable, might help her from, would help her digestive system, all that kind of stuff. Because my mother is like a piece of jello. She's just no support whatsoever and all that kind of stuff. But as I said, to buy one of these is, even though the government gives you subsidies, still, $1,100 that we have to pay out for it. So they're test driving her on one. Yeah, that's not going well. They called me last Monday to tell me, yep, first day they were putting my mother in the reclining wheelchair, and they were sounding very hopeful. Then I got a phone call later in the day that basically my mother was in the wheelchair for I don't know how long, but it wasn't very long, and she decided she was going to be sick and she wanted to go back to bed. So that's what they did. Well, you see, I have come to the conclusion now that every time my mother is made to do something she doesn't want to do, she automatically says she's going to throw up, and she can make herself throw up at will and put her back to bed. And so they did. She has them well trained for this. This is not good for my mother, but it's my mother's life. I am done trying to convince her that what these people are doing for her are to her best interest. If she wants to be miserable, if she wants to lay in bed all day, if she wants to take the chance of getting bed sores and having horrible infection and dying, that's my mother's choice. Okay? I know, sounds harsh, but I can't do anything about it. God knows I've tried. So I talked to her the next day, and I mentioned about the wheelchair, and she just, what wheelchair? No, they hadn't put her in a wheelchair. No. Maybe she didn't remember. I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't care. I do care. That's the problem. I wish I didn't care. I really do. It would help me mentally very much if I didn't care, but I do care. And also I can't do anything about it, as I've already said. So anyways, I suspect I didn't hear anything from the nursing home for the rest of the week. I'm suspecting I will get a call today or tomorrow about the situation, and I'm suspecting that what I'm going to hear is, yeah, this is not working. But we'll see. If I don't hear anything in the next couple of days, I'll send off an email to Anita, the nurse practitioner, and state my concerns and talk about my mother's mental condition. I don't think they can do anything about her mental condition. I mean, if she was 40 and going through something like this, doctors would definitely recommend and set her up with a psychiatrist. And this is mental. This is mental. And it's not just mental because she might have, we still don't know for sure, she might have a touch of dementia. Can you have a touch of dementia? Sounds like you're eating something on a cracker. I'll just have a touch of that, kind of a thing. No. So, yeah, I don't know. And to compound things right now, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 cases of COVID on her floor in her section. They have the people, of course, quarantined and everything for that. But also, they admitted a new resident that came from the hospital who came in with scabies. Yeah, scabies, I found out, I'd heard the term before, but I thought it was something we used to run around the school, and no, that was cooties, not scabies, wasn't it? You've got girl cooties or something like this. Anyways, apparently they're a little parasite, gets under your skin, and create a rash that's very, very itchy, and I suppose it can get even worse. There is a cream, an ointment or something, that they will apply to people from head to toe, every part of their body, that supposedly helps prevent it, or I don't know if it's also the cure as well for it. So they contacted me to tell me about this situation and asked me to give consent that my mother can be lathered up in this cream. And apparently, as I said, it goes from head to toe. And then they put it on just before she is down for the night. And then the next day, when they get her up, they shower her clean from that. Take all her bed clothes and things like that and give them a thorough washing. And in a week's time, the whole treatment is done again. I'm sure my mother is just loving that. When I talk to her tomorrow, I'll ask her about it, and she'll probably tell me, I don't know. Same answer as always. So, that made me worried too, because apparently this person came from the hospital and was transferred there and had this. And the hospital did not know about it? Okay, I know, maybe they're overworked and maybe things like this. I don't know. I don't know how you diagnose it. It may be something that is not easy to diagnose. It's something that can go unnoticed. I mean, I'm not blaming the healthcare workers for this. They have enough on their mind. But apparently it's very contagious as well. That's why they're doing this preventative measure with my mother and the other residents in the home. So, those poor people that have to lather up these old people and shower them in the whole bit. That's a job I do not admire. They have my greatest respect as long as they're double vaxxed. So that's my mother this week. Okay. So we're still working with the Lucey. I've already talked about that. I've done some videos, so I won't talk more about that. And we had a special visit. I belong to a quilters group online, a membership site called the Quilters Way. I have since it started a few years ago, and I love it. And the owner operator of that has become a friend, but it's out in Calgary, of course. Well, she and her husband were traveling out here to Ontario for a special family event that's happening. I think it's the 65th wedding anniversary for her parents. And she was coming out here and she was going to be giving some seminars at some of the local quilt stores along her path as well. And so, of course, we had to have them here for dinner. Had to have them. We wanted to have them, of course. And so they were invited for dinner. And so they came on Saturday night. Now, they have been double vaxxed, as we are too, and are taking all the precautions. So we had little worry about that. Well, we haven't entertained anybody for dinner in quite some time. even before COVID hit. It had been a while since we'd had people here for dinner. So we're a little rusty on that. And I forgot how much work it is. But it was good work. Okay? It was so nice to see them. We had a wonderful afternoon and evening as well. I think they arrived here about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't go home until after midnight or so, which I'm not complaining. It was great. So it was nice to see Kim and her husband Gary. And if you don't know what the Quilter's Way is, do look it up on Google. Check it out. If you're a quilter, I strongly suggest that you join. It's very reasonable price per month, especially if you're American, because in American dollars, I think it's about $10 a month. For Canadians, it works out to, well, it depends on the dollar, right? Fluctuates between $13 to $14 a month. But you know, it is great value for the money. It's a great group of people. Many of us have become friends. We have a Zoom every other week as well to share what we're working on, talk about things. Great source of information anytime. If you're having a problem with something, just put it out on the Quilter's Way and you will get multiple answers from the other members on there. It's very supportive, very informative. So do check it out. It's called the Quilter's Way. So it was nice to have company. Because we really haven't, of course. Okay, and that's just another aside, and I should have mentioned this when I was doing my little rant, but I have noticed on YouTube, the Americans on YouTube have a tendency, many of them, to speak of COVID in the past tense as if it is done with. Wow. There's something. Now, I don't want to get into it, but it is not over. Don't be using the past tense. And especially if you're an American, because I think Americans right now have the highest case counts in the world. And if any group has handled this really badly, it's been the Americans. Okay? And when I mean the Americans, I mean their government. Although they also probably have the highest number of anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers in the world too. Sorry, but that is a fact, actually. Look it up. Okay, moving on. What's coming up? I don't know. Sounds like my mother. I don't know. No, Craft and Chat, as I've already mentioned, this coming Wednesday, October 6th, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're free, join us. It's fun. And yeah, I've got quilting to do. I'm still working on Christmas gifts too in that line. So there's always something to do. So on that note, I think I'll let you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And do check out my links in the show notes. It's Stephen and Walter Live and the So Chatty and the Idiot Quilter episodes that are there for you. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope everything in your world is going along fine. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.